So as my team gets this stage ready for the next session, a very, very interesting title, a theme for the next session, hashtag like a boss. So we have, once again, celebrity women, two celebrity women joining us on the dais now. Just give me 30 seconds before I call them on the dais. So, many of you are looking forward to this session, I know. May I now invite to the dais Ms. Bharati Bhaskar, motivational speaker, writer and diversity champion, and Ms. Ekta Kumar, columnist, speaker and artist. Thank you, both of you, for joining us. May I have the AV, please?
Ms. Bharati Bhaskar, a Tamil orator, is renowned for her participation in various talk shows on TV. With a BTech in Chemical Engineering and an MBA from Anna University. Ms. Bharati Bhaskar, a Tamil orator, is renowned for her participation in various talk shows on TV. With a BTech in Chemical Engineering and an MBA from Anna University, she boasts over a decade of public speaking experience. Formerly a vice president at Citibank Chennai, Ms. Bhaskar's oratory journey began in school, leading to appearances on various programs, as well as on debates hosted by Mr. Solomon Papaya. Ms. Ekta Kumar, a chartered accountant and an MBA from IIM Calcutta, is renowned for her insightful articles on current affairs and human rights which were featured in leading publications like The Times of India, Forbes, and The Wire. Formerly a news anchor for Times Now, she hosted primetime shows and is now an UVP Fellow, collaborating on projects within the European Union to promote SDGs and human rights. As the National President for Gender Lens Investing at WICCI, she empowers women entrepreneurs. Her short story, Gods Who Drown, was longlisted for the Commonwealth Short Story Prize 2020. Ms. Ekta loves exploring visual communication, and her work was exhibited at the 2017 Pune Biennale.
So we have two phenomenal achievers and motivational speakers here. I'll invite first Ms. Bharati Bhaskar and then Ms. Ekta Kumar to come and share your views with the delegates. May I invite Ms. Bharati Bhaskar, please?
யாராவது பெல் அடிப்பீங்களா? Thank you for inviting me. I think for the first time I'm going to be on stage without our moderator cautioning me about the time. But, anyway, so Ekta, don't worry, I'll try and kind of keep it to the time. So for this session, I've been given 3 specific key perspectives to be discussed. I think I'm going to get into that straight away. And I'm really not going to talk about my journey because maybe we'll kind of explore that through questions. So the 3 key perspectives that have been given for this session, like a boss. I really like the title of the session. Thank you for choosing that. And I loved your session. I think that was wonderful, ma'am, and I think kudos to you. Learned a lot in the 10 minutes that I witnessed your session. Thank you so much. And I wish we have that kind of a slim physical appearance in the next birth or something like that. So on the 3 key aspects, one is about embracing a growth mindset, Second is overcoming the imposter syndrome. And the third is having career goals beyond job goals. So I'm going to talk about these three things. May not strictly related to what I went through, but in general, my views on that. But before that, I think we are all here in the month of March, so we just celebrated Women's Day and we came here. So even though it's belated, I think I can still say Happy Women's Day. And most of us, only two of you clapped, I don't know why, but it's okay. I'm glad men also clapped, so thanks to them as well. So on the Women's Day, all of us, or every woman in this room, would have received in our respective WhatsApp IDs several pictures of roses. Yes or no? And people wishing us for Women's Day. I also received something else which was of great interest to me. It was at least 10 or 15 people have forwarded to me the picture of a woman with 8 hands. So one hand had a feeding bottle, one hand had a laptop, one hand had a dosa therapy, whatever you call it, ladle. So there were 8 hands, and then it said to the superwoman, the super goddess, the super wife, and super mom. So I wanted to tell them all thanks, but no thanks. I don't have 8 hands, and I don't intend having ever 8 hands. I am not goddess Parashakti, I am only a human being. So by this picture, what they're really trying to tell us is that you better do every household duty yourself. And hence I said, thanks, but no thanks. I have only 2 hands, and I will do whatever I can. So on the Women's Day, I think it is of supreme importance that we tell ourselves, the men and women in this room, that I am first a human being, and I also happen to be a woman. So I can make mistakes. So allow me to fall down sometimes so that I'll be able to get up and move on. But the moment you call me a superwoman, then I get this anxiety in my mind. Now my house cannot have any cockroaches. What will I do? Now my husband's shirt collar cannot have any grease or any stain. What will I do about it? More importantly, I'll have to cook 3 times a day delicious meals. Karam, manam, gunam, nirendra, sambar pudi I have to have, which I don't have, by the way. So what will I do? And at least these 3 things I'm okay, I'll try and do something or the other. But now I'm supposed to get my sons or whoever to be first in the class. So then you also have to be best in work. If I'm a scientist, I have to wear a white coat and certify every toothpaste and every toothbrush and every hand sanitizer. I have to be best pilot, I have to be the best sports person, I have to be the best chartered accountant and storyteller and the best banker. I can't be everything. So on this Women's Day, all that I want to do is sit back, relax, enjoy. And tell myself that I'll do things. I have got my own maternal instinct, so I'll try and do everything as much as possible. But I'm not going to be perfect. Don't call me superwoman, because I'm not. Don't call me super wife, because I'm not going to be doing everything in the house. My husband has to share. And don't call me super mom, because it's not my singular responsibility to make my ward the best in life or in the class. I'll try, but allow me to fail. That's all I want to say on this Women's Day. So thanks. The 3 points, and very quickly, because I'm mindful about the time that's given to me. The first is about embracing a growth mindset. So there are at least 10 or 15 men or women that I can quote here who have been my mentors. For example, Mr. Ajay Banga, I had the privilege of working with him, not directly in his reporting line, but in the same organization, in the same flow, when he was with City and he was in Chennai. Many of you don't know that he actually worked in Chennai when he was in city, but he was here. So I was with Ajay Banga in the team, and then at his farewell, when he was moving to US, and they say rest is history. So after he moved to US, rest is history. But in his farewell meeting, I asked him if you will give me one advice on how we should pursue our career, especially since I'm from the financial industry. He gave us one piece of advice, which is upfront bad news to your boss. This is the advice that he gave me, and I followed it till whenever that was possible. So many mentors like him, many women role models. But I'm going to talk about somebody quite unusual in a forum like this, and I'm going to talk about the subject on embracing a growth mindset. So it was the period just after COVID when we were all kind of returning back to work, and I live in a place called Gopalapuram in Chennai, and it is near a big street, big lane called street or whatever that, Avai Shanmugam Sala. So Anna Lakshmi Akka runs a idli shop in that place. So it's very close to my house, so I take a look at her every day. She comes every day at about 7:30, and she has a breakfast shop which serves only idlis, and she winds up around 9:30. This is her routine. She comes in a vehicle which has 4 wheels, but it's a vehicle that she has to pedal. It's a cycle attached to a vehicle. And she brings her husband with her. He was physically challenged, so she has to pedal, and he will be sitting there. And then as soon as she comes in, she starts making idlis there in the street itself. And she makes it very clear as to who is the boss of the shop. So she tells her husband, hey, chutney podiya summave ninnitrika, seekram. So the way I saw in, whatever I saw in her, I thought all of us or everybody who's aspiring to grow further in their chosen path of life, we have a lot of lessons to learn from Anna Lakshmi Akka. And I did really try to learn. I don't know how successful I was, but I did really try to learn. So Anna Lakshmi Akka starts making idlis, and as soon as she starts the process, 10 or 15 men, apart from the regular customers, will just line up there. And she says, I'll throw hot water on you. Just move from here. And she names everybody. You owe me 117 rupees. You owe me 210 rupees. You owe me 67 rupees 50 paisa. Unless you give it to me, I'm not going to give you idli. Run away. I'll throw hot water on you. And then she gets busy with the customers who are actually paying. These are guys who can't pay. For whatever reasons, they're very poor. They can't even do that. They still stand there. And I used to wonder why they still there. She's going to throw hot water on them. And she did look like she will throw hot water on them. But once the routine is over, the customers are all done, she makes the last batch of idlis for her. You all know how to make idlis. In that huge plate, she makes about 25-30 idlis. She takes them and she calls her husband, and then he starts eating those 4 or 5 idlis. Then it's time for her to eat is what I would assume. But she would call the guys who are still standing there, who she knows will not be able to pay. And then she gives them each those 4 idlis or 5 idlis, and she knows who will eat 4 and who will eat 5 and who will eat 6. She gives them all and then reminds them, now you owe me actually 123 rupees. Now you owe me actually 178 rupees. And then she says, if you come tomorrow without paying, and then she eats whatever is left, her 4 or 5 idlis, and she orders her husband, and then he serves her sambar, she eats it, she sits on the vehicle and she starts pedaling after she kind of lifts her husband, who is physically challenged, into the vehicle. And what I loved most about the story was the tag she had in the vehicle. It said, Urimam Anna Lakshmi, which meant owner is Anna Lakshmi. She was unapologetic in declaring that I am the boss here. You all listen. And every day she used to pass by my house because I usually watch her. And she tells me, "Nee bank la thanne vela paakra, enakku oru loan vaangi kudu idu expand panna." Unfortunately, my bank was not considering the profile. We tried to kind of help in whatever little way we could. But she wouldn't stop asking me. Every time she met me, she was not asking me, I saw you in Sun TV. She will not ask me, can I take a selfie with you? She will only ask me, you work for a bank, so you better try and get a loan for me. Ladies and gentlemen, this is embracing growth for me. Because every day, in every way, she wanted to grow her business. Every day and every way, she wanted to declare to the world that I am the boss here, including to one of her employees, which is her husband. She didn't mind telling him that I am the boss here. And he also accepted it because he knows who is better of the two in being able to manage a difficult position like that. You know that street, some of you who ever live in Chennai, it's not very easy to navigate in that street, to run a business. She did it and she knows how to put people in place. Last but not the least, as a part of her growth, she wanted to feed herself well. The last batch of idlis was not some minjipona pieces or the leftover pieces, but it was a hot plate of idlis that she sat, enjoyed and ate after feeding her husband. More importantly, after feeding those 4 or 5 who will never be able to pay. She has the math in her mind. She knows how much they owe her. But every day she will give them the idli, even though she knows that she will never be throwing hot water on them. She tells them every day. Why is she saying that every day? That's for those who are around, who are sensing that she is giving free idlis. It's for the others, so that this list will not add. But it is a societal, social responsibility to ensure that everybody grows around her as she is growing. To me, ladies and gentlemen, this is really embracing a growth model. So I learned a lot from her. Of course, we have all learned from Indra Nuis, Sheryl Sandberg, everybody we have learned. But for me personally, there has been more learning from Annalakshmi Akka than anybody else. I'm moving to the second point, which I don't know what's your view, but I have a slightly different view. I hope you're okay with that. And if you call a Pattimandram speaker for a forum like this, you better be sure that I'm going to say something which some others may not agree with. So, overcoming imposter syndrome. So, imposter syndrome, I'm sure this term resonates with everybody. It is defined. And organizations repeatedly talk about it when they have their performance conversations with women leaders, especially women leaders in the middle management and in the senior management positions. They say that they ask us, are you suffering from this syndrome, imposter syndrome? So what is imposter syndrome? Having risen to a position which is of some critical importance, not too critical, but which is of some critical importance in the organizational hierarchy, they say that women start questioning their own abilities of, am I the right one to be here? I don't think I'm good enough. But I've been still put here. I'm here. I don't think I'm good enough. So they develop an anxiety around this, and this is what is named as imposter syndrome. What do you all think? I think the imposter syndrome is another HR jargon which is thrust upon women. I don't think there is any woman who truly believes that I am not deserving to be in the place that I have really struggled to occupy. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a privilege, especially in the last 1.5 years, after I moved away from my bank, to be traveling to the 2nd tier, 3rd tier, and even villages in Tamil Nadu, constantly to colleges and schools. I meet students, especially the girls and their mothers. Everyone is ambitious. Everyone is willing to go that extra mile. They want to occupy positions of power and importance. They don't want to lead the lives that mothers and grandmothers have led, of being submissive, of going to their husbands for buying a pottu or a salwar kameez or a hairband. They don't want to lead a life like that. They want to progress. I see this constantly. And what I don't understand, maybe Somebody should explain to me what it really means. After all the struggles, when you have come to the path and you're in the direction of where you want to go, are you going to feel that I don't deserve this? Not really. Not really. So imposter syndrome is something that has been thrust on the women, and I want to ask the organizations. Luckily, I'm no part of any organization, so I can ask this question. So I am going to ask the organizations, what are you really trying to tell us? What are you really trying to tell us? So let me throw three situations to you. Why is this girl who was actually participating a lot in official meetings and conferences suddenly not speaking at all? What happened to her? Imposter syndrome? No. So why is this South Indian woman who was actually in every way eligible for a promotion, not given that promotion, but in the performance appraisal talk, somebody is telling her that she did not get the visibility that she should have got? And why is the woman of color who was passionately pursuing a project was suddenly removed from that project and put somewhere else? So when these three women that I spoke about and several other women now go back to the appraisal desks, they are told that you probably have an imposter syndrome. Now, maybe imposter syndrome does exist, but only as much as it exists in the psyche of the male. Nothing more, nothing less. It's not a woman-centric phenomena. In 2022, Webster Dictionary Associates chose a word to be the word of the year. That word is gaslighting. Some of you might have heard about that word. And for some of the people who are on the wrong side of 40s, or early 50s, you would have seen this Tamil movie called Rangoon Radha. No hand is raising, so I'm assuming everybody is younger to me in this hall. Okay. So that's exactly gaslighting, where the husband or the lover makes the girl believe that she's mad. She's not. She's absolutely okay. But he makes her believe that she is having a psychological disorder. So that's called gaslighting. So I'm sorry to equate the two terms, but I think I'm at a position where I'm just equating the two words. So there is nothing like an imposter syndrome. The organizations have to ask themselves, what are you fixing here? Are you fixing the bias or are you fixing the woman here? This is the question that we need to ask the organizations. Why is this woman pushed to a point that she starts asking herself, am I really going to be able to do this? Because there is a men's club in every organization or in most organizations that have a bias. Some of this bias is conscious. Some of this bias is conscious. Most of this bias is unconscious bias. They don't know themselves that they have a bias. If a HR personnel asks them a question on, do you have a bias in hiring a woman? They're going to say, what the hell are you talking about? I am an equal opportunity employer and I will recruit best talent. Thank you so much. But if there is a woman who sounds as aggressive as her male counterpart, are you going to really hire her for this position? If there is a woman who won't be able to join your networks because she doesn't smoke or drink, are you going to kind of hear her out as much as you hear from the male colleagues? So, if at all a woman is pushed to a position where she believes that she won't be able to do it, you can't blame her for that. You will have to blame the cultural and the historical reasons around her that are really putting hindrances in the path of her progress. So let me share this with you quickly. I, as a leader in my organization, went through about 5 years as the operations head. That was the time when RBI put in a lot of regulations to be implemented by the financial institutions. So every week there will be a regulation. So every Monday, they won't wait till Monday because most of the regulations come on a Sunday night. So we have this terrible Monday syndrome, not because we don't want to go to work, but we were checking what is the regulation that came on Sunday night. So we have to form teams because we have to comply with the regulations. We can't be some organizations which say, I won't comply, so we have to comply. So we have to get teams to adhere to the regulations, right? So I call a team of people about, let's say about 10. I'm just taking a hypothetical number. 7 guys and 3 girls. So I ask them, guys, this is the project. We have to comply within the next 60 days. That's all that RBI has given us time for. Now, who's willing to be the head of this project? What do you think will happen? All 7 guys will raise their hands without batting an eyelid. What about the 3 girls or ladies or women there? They have been called there because they are eligible. I'm not going to call somebody because I need a woman representation. Now there is no time to think about all representation here. I have to comply. So I'm calling them. So I'm just going to stop for a minute till Preeti settles down. Hi. You can't add this minute to my time. Yeah, so almost come to an end. So when the 3 girls or the 3 women, what do you think they do? Any guesses? They first quickly check with the other girls whether they are raising their hands or not. And then there is one girl who quarter raised her hand. After seeing her, the second lady half raises her hand. And the third woman has this mind voice, which I can hear, obviously. She says, "Ippave veetukku poga 7:30 mani agudhu, unga project eda poda na 9 manikku da veetukku poven." Which means, as such, I'm going home at 7:30. If I become the project head, I don't think I'll go home at even 9:30. So why should I take it? So now, you're going to call those 3 women and tell them you have an imposter syndrome because you really don't believe you deserve to be the project head because you think you're a fraud. You don't believe that you have the potential to come up to where you have come. No, I decline. No, I don't agree. So the organizations will have to support women at the difficult life cycle stages. The organizations will have to address bias and not fix women. Till that happens, I think this term will remain, but thank you, but no thank you. I'm not going to agree with this term. So like I heard in the last session, there is only one way for us. The victory of one woman is not enough for us. We need hundreds of chairs. And when we have to occupy hundreds of chairs, out of, if there are only 100 chairs, okay, let's occupy 50 chairs. I don't mind occupying more, but at least 50 we need to occupy. If I have to occupy 50 chairs, all of us will have to work together. It's not a wrestling game when one has to lose when the other person has to win. But in the corporate game or the jungle that we travel in, we have to catch each other's hand and move on. Now, on the last and final point, having a career goal beyond job goals, all of us need to have job goals because they are critical and important for us. I need that corner C suit. I need this promotion. I need to head this project. I need to be here and I need to be there. Nothing wrong in it. But as we heard in the previous session, and I really love the words when she spoke about it, saying, your calling will come to you at some time or the other. For some people, as we heard, it comes very early. For some people, it comes a little late. For me, it came when I was well over 33, 34. That is when I realized that, yes, I'm a banker. Yes, I want the C-suit. Yes, I want this promotion. But my calling is to be on stage. And then I reoriented my job goals to align with the overall career path that I had. So then I tried to be a mentor, and that was a job goal so that it will align with my overall career goal because that's where I want to be. Job goals are important, but if they don't align with your career goal, you will get frustrated sooner than later. It doesn't matter that we all don't have to retire at an early age like a sports person, but internally you would have retired. when you are hitting your midlife crisis. Why? Because you are not finding pleasure in whatever you have got. But if you really want to be there, and if you want to hear your soul's calling, your career goals and job goals will have to align. Thank you for this opportunity.
May I request Ms. Ekta to come and share her views, please?
It's absolutely wonderful to be here in your city. I want to say welcome to all the beautiful, lovely ladies in the room, but I can also spot a few gentlemen, and really thank you for being here, because I truly believe that no conversation on gender equality can be complete if there are no men. So thank you for being here. Now, I've been thinking how to start this. The whole morning we've heard like these fantastic women speak, very inspiring, very different voices. And I know it's the end of the session and you're such a fantastic audience. You're still looking at the stage and paying attention. So I thought let us start with a little game maybe. Don't worry, I will not ask you to do much. Just sit back in your chair and think, right? Let me just throw a couple of phrases at you and just think. Yes? Okay. A very sincere class teacher, an angry police officer, a young, dynamic CEO, a trusted, very responsible nurse, an overworked, overtired doctor. Now tell me, how many of you thought of the doctor as a man? Can you raise your hand? This is such an enlightened audience. How many of you thought of the doctor as a woman? I love this. This is just fantastic. You're enlightened, you're aware, and my job here is done actually. I should be walking off stage. How many of you thought of the police officer as a woman? The point is, we have these stereotypes in our head. We have these ideas in our head, which are difficult in some sense to shake off, right? And where do these ideas come from? It is like someone was mentioning, right? Years of social and cultural conditioning. This session is called #LikeABoss. When I read it, and I have to confess, despite doing so much work on gender and all of that, when I read it, my 1 second reaction to think when I read the word boss was a man. I'm absolutely ashamed to say it. But my thought was a man. And then I corrected myself to say, what is wrong with you, Ekta? You're going to give a speech and then I thought about it a little more. And I said, no, it's not your fault. The fact is, if you look around in the corporate world, most of your bosses are men. You look around in the political world, most of your bosses are men. You look around in most spaces, you look at everyday things. Things are made by men. They're everywhere. So then I told myself, don't feel so bad, it's fine. And we have to get over this and find a way to change mindsets. Now, I know we're really running out of time and I would like a little bit of interaction. So I'm going to keep it a little short, but I do want to leave you with one thought. How do we change mindsets is a very long conversation. You change policy. You have better training programs, you have awareness, you have education, you start at grassroots level and all of that. This is stuff that all of us know in some sense. But today we have limited time, so I want to leave you with really one thought. If you had to change one thing, just one thing about yourself, what would it be? To change one thing so that you can be the boss, so that you can lead. It doesn't matter. You don't have to always change the world. It can be something really small. It can be something that matters to you. It can be something you're experimenting with. But ask yourself, what is stopping me? It's like Bharati was mentioning, right? 7 men will put up their hand and 3 women will look at each other, right? It is like Aparna was saying. There are 4 men who are selected and there is only one. What drives her? What will drive you? What is that one thing that you can change? When I was I have to tell you this. When I was, the game I just played with you, I have 2 sons, and I was playing this with them. And it was great fun. And I got a lot of answers from them that made me think. My son actually thought of the doctor as a woman. And in my head, I was like, yes, you're doing something right. But then I thought about it and I said, no, it's not like, despite all my good intentions and effort, it's really not me. He's thinking of the doctor as a man because his aunt is a doctor. So my thing is, we have to take our place, right? We have to be in positions of power. We have to step up and take that lead and say that we will be bosses. The fact is, if I just have to say numbers, and this is probably something we all are aware of, right? In the parliament, 11 or 12% are women, right? They're taking policy decisions, large decisions, small decisions that impact all of us. There are 50% of us in the world, and there are 11% in India who are sitting in parliament, right? There are, in the corporate world, and I'm guessing many of us here belong to that, I don't even have to say the numbers. I mean, you just have to look around and you know, right? In the world, we all know when there is war, it is actually the women and children who are disproportionately impacted. And yet, and shockingly, at the United Nations, at all these peace brokering kind of deals that happen, less than 3% women are sitting on that table to sign those deals, to negotiate those deals. And then you wonder, there is absolutely like we have no voice. You look at agriculture. You look at the fields, and I don't know, I'm sure we've noticed, right? Most of them are women. 75% of the laborers who are working on the field are women. How many of them do you think own the land that they're working on? There is hardly an opportunity. And there is a pressing need. I think there is no doubt about that. So the point I'm making really is that it is up to us to have the courage, to have the greed, to have the ambition. You know, in the morning, I don't know if you remember, there was the lady from the Hindu who used the word stubborn. I absolutely love that word. You have to be stubborn and you have to make that change and say, I will do it. You know, very often they tell us, as women, we are not that confident. As women, we tend to underplay ourselves. As women, we're not that ambitious. You know, it's always family and children and something else that is distracting us. But my point I'm trying to make is we cannot be only complaining about equality. At some level, we cannot only say this needs to be done and not be able to do something about it. And which is why the hashtag like a boss is extremely relevant. It is, so again, to wrap up, I just want to leave you, just if you can take away from this, just that one thing, which is individually very different from all of us. What is the one thing that holds you back? What is the one thing that you can change? When my son gave me that answer, I was thrilled. But I do hope that that answer will come up more and more in the next generations if all of us here make an effort to step up and take our place at the table. So thank you.
So thank you, Ms. Bharati Bhaskar, as well as Ms. Ekta, for this lovely inspirational speeches. The topic was really interesting, hashtag like a boss, and I think both of you have taken your own perspectives on that. So we have maybe 5 minutes left. So Bharati ma'am, because you don't have Salman Papaya today, let me ask you a few questions. It's a very interesting question. It says that as a motivational speaker, you have inspired so many people, so many individuals all over Tamil Nadu and all over India. Who has inspired you to reach this stage?
It's my mother, like for most of us. My mother belonged to a generation when her father did not let her pursue her college education. She was very good in studies. She loved physics, but she was not allowed to study in college. And you know why, right? What would he have said? I can't find the right guy for you if you study any further. Of course, my father was ready. He didn't get a girl anyway. So he was there. But my grandfather still said, you won't get the right groom, so I'm not going to let you study. So my mother was not in a position to fight. But a professor from Queen Mary's College came home and met my grandfather. And the historical meeting has been described by my mother in a diary note that she has left for us. She's no more now. So the professor came and she was not allowed inside the house for obvious reasons. She stood outside. My grandfather was sitting on the thinnay of the house. And the professor asked him, why are you not letting Karpagam study further? Karpagam is my mom's name. And grandfather was dumbfounded, not because he couldn't answer, but that's the first time a woman was looking into his eyes and asking a question. He has never had that situation in his life before. So he was little confused and he said, okay, I'll allow her to study. But he, belonging to the generation, wanted to keep up his words. He didn't want to go back on that. So he cursed my mother as much as he could and finally let her to study. So she went to college. It was a class where she was the only woman member. And it was called Madras Presidency that time because Madras, Tamil Nadu and Andhra were together. She stood first in MSc Physics and won a gold medal. And the most interesting part in the note that my mom left for us says that it was she who wrote a letter to her professor to come home and talk to her father. And she gave steps, you know, it's like an equation, writing a stepwise she has written. Step 1, you won't be let inside, so stand here, look at my appa's face and ask this question. So she kind of, and my grandfather was acting in a play without knowing that it has been scripted by my mother. So she is my inspiration. She is very soft in her words, not like me or my sisters, but she will get things done the way she would think is ethical for all of us. Ethics was of supreme importance in our home. So she is my role model, and even though she is no more now, she will continue to be my role model.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. We know now what runs in the genes. Ms. Ekta, one quick question for you. Your work spans across multiple creative domains, including writing, speaking, artistry and all that. How do you find synergy between these different forms of expression?
It's an interesting question. Thank you. I don't look for synergy, to be honest. It's very boring if things synergize and fall into place and flow together. I think I derive my energy from the fact is people, we're complicated, we're all of us, we don't want to be in a unidimensional kind of role or track. So I don't want them to come together. I like the fact that as people, we can do science and maths and also do arts. And this is something I want to reiterate because, you know, I see so many young faces here. And in India, especially given our education system and the society we're in, we're often at a very young age either asked to choose, are you a science person, are you a commerce person or an arts person? And if we don't choose by default, if we're good at something, then they'll choose for us and put us there. I think it is important to keep exploring, kind of pushing yourselves in many directions. That works for me. And that is something I feel strongly about. I think we shouldn't cage ourselves. You can be really good at math and you can still paint. I mean, don't judge yourself, just do everything.
Thank you. So I think that's all the time we have for this session. Bharati ma'am, for today, a different session for you. There's nobody to debate with you, but somebody who synergized with you in your own thoughts. Hashtag like boss. May I request President MMA, Mr. Mahalingam, to step forward and present the award along with Mr. Shankar and Mridula ma'am. Please join them. So I don't know how many of you read Ms. Bharati's column in today's Times of India about Thirukural. Any of you seen this today morning? It was about friendship. So thank you so much, ma'am. Continue to write Thirukural and engage.